Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world-class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought-provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. What if the secret to success isn't doing more, but doing less? Hey everyone, this is Alvin Brown, your host of Personal Mastery Training. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Personal Mastery Alliance, Dr. Charlie Cartwright and Raymond Tonye. They're diving into how trimming the unnecessary, focusing on what truly matters, and seeking truth over greatness can transform your life. Let's jump right in.
Hello and welcome to the Personal Mastery Alliance. Dr. Charlie and Ray here today. And Ray has brought the meal, and he's got a really, I think, important topic for all of us to discuss, really think about as we go about our week and make sure that the things that we do in life are actually moving us forward and not creating an endless loop that leads to nowhere. So with that, I'll pass the mic to Ray and let him serve the meal.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. And I've been listening to a lot of great, I've been reading, I've been listening to a lot of great podcasts this week. And I took a lot of notes. And one of the things that come out was from Craig Groeschel. Okay. Craig Groeschel, founder of Life Church. Okay. And he shared this wisdom that I want to tell you guys about. He said, dedication is often meaningless work in disguise. Be ruthless and cut the fat. Here's what I mean by that, and what he means by that is that in life, naturally, okay, most people tend to add a lot of things on their plates to show that they're being, I guess, effective, to show that they're being busy, to show that they have stuff going on. But the reality of this is that the more that you add, the more you really get lost, and the more you maybe saying yes to a lot of things that are not meaningful, that are not necessarily moving the needle. While on the opposite, true leaders, okay, true people that are making an impact, what they do is that they focus on the process of elimination. That's really what it is. They don't add more, they eliminate so that they keep only what's truly, truly, truly meaningful. And they make no ifs and buts about it. They make no excuses about it. They're ruthless about it. And this concept, I believe, is so important for all of us because, especially in this digital age that we're in, our minds are pulled in every direction. Okay, the second you get out of your home, there's work, there's business, there's all kinds of different things that are pulling your attention. You have this cell phone in your hand that's pulling your attention. And what happens in the end is that it's so easy to push to the back of the lines, the things that are truly, truly important. And it's so easy to lose your focus, which is something that's so important because someone who's focused, who's magnetized, as we say, can create anything. Their potential is endless. But in order to truly be focused, it's about eliminating what needs to be eliminated, what needs to be off your plate, so that you can truly, truly make deposits, as we talked about right before this started, make deposits every single day in the right bank account so that when it's time to cash out, man, life is great. So I'll start off with this and I'll pass the mic.
Love it. I love it, Ray. And this reminded me of a wisdom from Bruce Lee as you were talking. I looked it up. He said, it's not daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away the unessential. The closer to the source, the less wastage there is. And I remember watching an interview that he gave years ago, and he said it's like a sculptor. He says, chipping away, at the block of granite until the truth is revealed, right? And so
Yeah,
that's the daily decrease. And it's true, so many of us get caught up in these to-do lists, right? And if to-do lists were the answer, then all the people with the biggest to-do list would be the most advanced, the most intelligent, the most influential, the most accomplished, the most successful, the wealthiest. They're not. Why is that? It's about what's on the list.
yeah,
Hey, what's on that list, right? Is it like this or should it really be like this, right? And we know that there are so many things that are time wasters, time killers, and it distracts us from what's truly important. And it's just so interesting. Like I remember in my past, mowing my grass, right? And hey, I'm getting exercise, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but it was such a time consumer for me, and it took me away from my business, right? And then there's dust, there's pollen, I have allergies, so I'd have to, you got to get them all ready, then you got to clean them more, and then you got to do, you do all the things required from the mowing to the trimming, and you got to put the mower away. Now I've got to change out of the clothes that I had to change into. I have to shower. I have to do all these things. And so a couple of hours are gone from every Saturday, let's say during the summer. And that's if I'm efficient, 2 hours, right? Most likely it's more like 2.5. However, there's some young ladies down the street, a family of 5 daughters, that have a lawn mowing service. And so they come and do my lawn. So I was able to get rid of my lawnmower and the gas can and all the things that go with that. Matter of fact, I traded to them for some services, and so they come. Well, I'm stimulating the economy, right?
mhm,
Because I'm putting money into it. There's workers, they've got work, they're gaining experience, knowledge, they're gaining great lessons as they grow up. And I bought that 2.5 hours back. Well, what I pay them versus what I earn per hour in my business, there's no question, right? That the best thing for me to do for 2.5 hours is to work on my business, not to mow my grass. Okay. And so that's just one example of how we can really um, spend our time in a less than optimal way. Now, there was a time in my business where I needed to mow my own grass because I didn't have the resources to pay somebody else to do it. And I wasn't sure about what to do next in my business, so I needed time to think. So I'm mowing the grass. Now I know exactly what to do. And so I am exponentially better off by not mowing my grass, subcontracting that out to the five sisters, and everybody wins in that scenario. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
mm. Yeah, the grass for sure, 100%. And it leads me to this is that it's not about how much you do, okay? It's really about what you do, why you do it, and how you do it, okay? And there are different levels into each of these categories, starting with how much you do, okay? As we said before. So maybe just like anybody else, Charlie, just like I was most of the time, or most people are, just thinking about cutting your grass, okay? Why it's so important is because we've been, wired all these things into our mind about what success is supposed to look like, about what are we supposed to look like. Good example with the 9 to 5. 9 to 5 wasn't always a thing. Okay, we tend to forget that. It wasn't always a thing. It was just agreed upon for specific reasons. But now in 2025, it still mostly goes on, okay, in most organizations. And when you really think of it, when you're being honest, who works nonstop and is really being efficient from 9 to 5. There's a lot of wasting time in there. And Charlie, you obviously know about it. You dive into these subjects, and there's so much wasted time in there. Okay, but there are definitely pockets where if there was more intention, if there was more focus, this same work could be done in a lot less. A good example, like my work right now, I'm not necessarily tied to a schedule. It's really about bringing in results. Okay, so whether I work 1 hour a day, whether I work 8 hours a day, it doesn't matter. But it's up to me to be very, very intentional and focused into what I'm supposed to do, why I should do it, and when I decide to do it, how I do it. Okay, how I do it. And this leads the important thing to really even understand that is first to have an eye for evaluation, evaluating yourself, evaluating the task, evaluating the situation, being an observer. Okay, a conscious observer. It starts from that because if I'm not doing that, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just aiming for a target that I don't even have. Okay, and that makes no sense. From that evaluation, I can start that process of elimination, of picking, what's really important. From there, if I need to delegate, just like Charlie said, okay, I eliminated certain things that don't need to be there at all. What can be delegated in there? And from there, what can I automate? Ultimately, what can I automate? But whatever is on my plate, am I doing it to the best of my ability? Am I really, really committing to it? Am I focused on, again, creating a true result or just looking busy and feeling like I've done something and feeling like I created a bunch of things that don't really mean anything because that's what often happens. Okay, it's about reframing what we've been taught about success and what success truly is. In my opinion, is bringing in a concrete result, okay, with the actions that you take. And it really starts from there. No doubt that's in
Excellent, excellent thoughts. And I think about this, and I know a person, I've known them for a long time, and they're always very busy, don't have time, always kind of behind the eight ball, scrambling. But I've known this person for many years, and the only thing that has changed is they've gotten older, but I don't really see the, you know,
Yeah.
outward results of all this busyness, right? Because
Yeah.
it's really easy to get caught up in trivial tasks, right? And it just eats your time up, right? And then the next thing you know, morning turns to night, and then it's on to the next day, and then the process gets started. So it's like that computer that's spinning, that little spin, arrows in the middle, and nothing's coming up on your computer. Well, if you just leave it, it'll just continue to spin indefinitely. So you got to do something different. You got to reboot it. You got to change something to take it out of that cycle. And I think we have to step back as people and look at the things that we're kind of trapped into, maybe not realizing that it's a trap for our time, and and then being intentional. And I'm not saying that we don't relax. We need to relax, but we need to be intentional about taking relaxation time. We need to have fun, but we need to be intentional about having fun. We need to rest. We need to be intentional about resting. Okay, so that to make sure that it happens. So we got to be very intentional with our time. And it's an amazing thing I've noticed. And so so many things in the personal life was changing, professional life was changing, really working hard on, the business and growing it. And so I got so hung up in those things, which are all legitimate, that my fitness level, I was not putting in the time and energy into my fitness level. I wasn't putting the time and energy into making sure that I was getting good nutrition into my body. And so as a result of that, man, I just didn't have the energy at the end of the day to work out. I didn't have the time at the end of the day to work out or at the beginning of the day. And so when I was able to put some of those things to bed that had been taking a lot of my attention, and then when I freed up some time, I said, hey, I'm going to invest this time now in my fitness level and working out and make some dietary changes along the way, changes in my nutrition. Guess what happened to my time? It expanded, right? Because I have more energy. So it's so counterintuitive that, hey, I'm going to work out and get tired or fatigued, but that's going to give me more energy. But that's exactly what happens, right? And then because it's like the gas tank in my car. I drive usually during the week, I drive a Ford Taurus. That's my daily car, business. And it runs best on premium fuel. But it'll run on the cheap gas. It'll run on the standard, the low octane stuff. It'll run on it, but you don't have the efficiency. You don't have the power. You don't have the acceleration. You don't have the fuel economy, right? So there's a little more investment in the premium fuel, but I get peak performance from the vehicle. It's the same thing with our body. We want to get peak performance from our body. We need to put premium fuel in there and not putting all these things that are not helping our body uh, give us the best result. And so it's amazing to me that with a few simple nutritional changes and adding exercise in, then now I have more energy to get things done than I had before. So I'm getting more done, within my day than before, and feeling better at the end of it. So I have still have some energy left to have a dinner with a friend, right? To go meet a family member, to go do something outdoors. So it is amazing. But again, it's not how much we're doing, but what we're doing that creates the best result. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, the energy part and workout part, I totally understand and relate because I had to look at myself really in the mirror. A few weeks back, I got sick, okay, and I couldn't shake it off for like 2 weeks, and that never happened to me. Usually, when I get sick, a few days at most, okay, and I'm back, but not for 2 weeks. I couldn't shake it off, and when I was analyzing things and really focusing on, okay, what needs to be done in order to feel better, then I just realized that I've been putting away moving my body, you know, for a little bit of time. I've been putting it away. And I could tell that's the one thing that's really missing. Everything else was mostly there, but that's the one thing that I feel like my body truly needs. I grew up playing sports. I've always done that. So even mentally, I believe, even though I have this relationship with training where I don't necessarily enjoy it, I enjoy the challenge of it. And I feel like I need that challenge in my life. So it's a good thing just to put myself in a situation where I'm challenging myself every single day. So I realized, okay, with work, I travel a lot, within the province, but there's no excuse. I have this gym membership that allows me to go to a lot of different gyms all across. So what stops me from, okay, before I go to this meeting, I'll buy scheduling a gym session in that area. I do it. I take my shower. I read my notes, I do what I have to do, and I go into my coaching session. It's stuff that I can do, and that nothing stops me from doing it. So I committed to doing it. I've been having so much energy. Also, you could tell that was the one box that wasn't checked. And simply by, again, being intentional, as we talked about, and truly looking at yourself in the mirror and figuring out, okay, what's missing right now? What am I adding and subtracting? Because that's the one thing I've been subtracting is moving, but that's the one thing that needs to be in there, definitely. Okay, so another really interesting or two interesting questions that I've read this week from the 4 Hour Work Week in book by Tim Ferriss. He said, ask yourself 3 times a day, am I really being productive or just being active? Okay. At any moment, you can even put an alarm on your phone just to ask yourself these questions. Okay, within that moment, am I being productive or am I being truly active? Because there's a difference. There's a big, big difference. And whatever your goal is in life, maybe you're okay. You're okay with simply going through emotions, okay? Going through emotions, and that's okay, right? But if you truly, truly want to fulfill your potential or stretch it as much as possible, this message is for you. And it's take it as a reminder, a sobering reminder that we all need to hear from sources that no one's coming to do it for you, right? No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to do it for you. And simply by going through the motions, that's not going to happen. Okay. That's not going to happen. It's going to require much more focus. It's going to require much more production instead of simply looking as if you're active, but really not stretching your limits. Just like me or even Charlie not going to the gym. You know, that's something that challenges us in a different way and that translates to everything else, right? So it's part of the whole. It's very important. And in order to stretch our full potential and have true success, we need to attend to all these things, but first we need to know what they are. So another very important question to ask ourselves is take inventory, as I believe Brandon always says, okay? Take inventory, have moments where you can clearly stop and truly look around, okay? Look around. Take inventory of what seeps into your life that's not supposed to be there. Okay, because if we never stop, if we simply move forward, okay, we cannot see. So it's really this balance of again, another one from Matthew McConaughey. Is it a green light right now where I need to go? Is it a yellow light where I need to slow down? Is it a red light where the best thing I can do, and that's another conversation I had with Charlie read before this, is that sometimes, man, when we really care, we want to do something. We want to do something now. Sometimes the best thing we can do is step back, give space. Okay, so which moment is it? Are we in a position to truly understand, why are we in this moment and what's required from this moment so that we can truly, truly move forward when it's time to go. And with this, I'll pass the mic.
Once again, those are great wisdoms, Ray. Thank you for sharing. One of the things that came to mind to me as you were speaking was communication. Okay. But this is a little different than what you might be thinking. So if we want to improve a relationship, the best way to do that's through better communication, correct? Whether that's a personal relationship, professional relationship, improved communication, I guarantee you, will improve the relationship. Well, we need to improve the communication with our body that we have. Okay. And here's the example. So we'll get hungry and we'll eat, let's say we eat a processed snack like chips, and we have a soda pop, and then we have a dessert. We'll have some cookies. We're hungry. We're still hungry. So we eat more of those cookies. We eat more of those Girl Scout cookies. We eat more chips and drink another soda. We're still hungry. And so the cycle continues. But what's happening is our body is communicating with us, but we're not clear on what on the communication it's giving us. It's telling us that it needs fuel.
Yeah.
And we didn't give it any. So it says, hey, I still need it in the form of hunger. And then we feed it what? And then it says, I still need it. And then we feed it substandard food. And then I still need it. That's the cycle. So we need to understand when our body's giving us hunger pains, it doesn't need junk food. It needs fuel. Okay. Fuel, right? Just like our car, do we see the gas gauge getting low? We need to find a gas station so we can put fuel in it. Our body needs fuel. So this morning I woke up and I felt a little hungry. And a lot of times I can go I might be up for 3 or 4 hours before I eat, but I know I had a very challenging week last week and I really pushed myself mentally and physically, and so drained some of those reserves. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make myself a protein shake. And I've got my protein that I get from Costco. I put chaga in there. I put my Juice Plus in there, fruit, banana, strawberries, milk, and a cup of milk in there, and then 4 ice cubes, blend it up, right? Empty. That's what my body wanted. That's fuel. But if I would have gotten some donuts and eaten 2 or 3 donuts and drank a soda with it, I'd still be hungry, right? So these are the small adjustments that it took the same amount of time to blend and drink the shake versus going and finding some donuts and some soda pop. The result is considerably different because this makes me better and the other would have made me worse. So making the choices of the activities that we're participating in will get us better positioned if we make great choices to do and complete the activities that matter. But if I'm constantly giving my body substandard food, I don't have the energy at the end of the day to get done what's really important, like taking care of this body I'm living in, right? The energy to go to the gym, the energy to lift the weights, the energy to walk 3 miles. After I get off this call, I'm going to go on a 3-mile walk. Well, I've got the fuel to do it. And so it's all feeding into my overarching goal, which is improving my life, whether it's improving myself physically, whether it's improving myself mentally, whether it's improving myself socially, whether it's improving myself professionally, whether it's improving myself spiritually. I'm participating in the activities that will help me accomplish that in the most efficient way possible. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
I love that, Charlie. And I love that you use communication to improve the relationship with our body or really any type of relationship. And when I look at communication, uh, when it's done right, okay, when it's done right, communication can bring some type of conflict. I don't see conflict as being a negative thing because conflict can be approached the right way. Okay. Uh, the greatest of friends had some type of disagreement. Why are they still the greatest of friends? because they work through it. Okay, they claw and they go a little bit deeper and they get to know each other better. Okay, strong marriages, they aren't perfect. There are disagreements, there are conflict, but they have the right intentions. They truly love each other. They truly want what's best for each other, and they keep getting closer. So, what I mean by this, okay, when it starts with that word communication that you said, it might lead to some type of conflict within yourself. Okay, the conflict between the lies we tell ourselves okay, to be comfortable, and ultimately what we want to obtain, which is truth. Communication brings truth, and truth is the remedy to it all. Okay, if we go towards truth, if we live in truth, truth within ourselves, truth with our situations we're in, great things will happen. But that starts with communication. Okay, it definitely starts with that, and I love that. And without getting off topic, if we just look at relationships, I think it's such a good example. Okay, because I have some friends, they ask questions. I have some family members, they ask questions. And when I listen to them or any type of problems that they have, and I'm not saying at all that my marriage is far from perfect, but I think I was lucky enough, I don't know why, maybe it comes also from my partner, that at a very young age, we understood something very fundamental. Okay. It's be true to yourself. Okay. As simple as that, because at some point, you'll have to be yourself. And way too often, people in relationships, what they do is that they want to look good for the other one. Okay. The other one brings an idea that they really don't like, that's fundamentally against their values, but they want to be accepted, they want to be nice, so they do it one time, and then two times, and then three times, and then next thing you know, they're stuck in this image, in this life that's truly not themselves, but they cannot be in there forever. At one point, they have to be themselves, and then boom, conflict because the other person doesn't understand. Okay, it starts the communication, but it doesn't necessarily go deeper because we stay in ego. We're not trying to truly understand. And if I go back to what we started at first, eliminate, don't add. Okay, but you have to know what to eliminate, and in order to know what to eliminate, you have to know yourself. Okay, and that's really where it starts. Where I remember it was funny. I was probably 18, 17 years old at a party with friends, and I was with my girlfriend, was now my wife, and we I just started dating probably 2 weeks. Okay, and my dream was to get a NCAA Division One scholarship. I'm from Canada, right? Not many people actually do that. Okay, but I was extremely focused on that. I was working for it. That was my thing, right? And I remember she was right behind me, but I forgot she was there. And one of my friends was talking to me, and he's like, "Okay, what if this girl tells you you can't play football anymore?" That she's like, "Okay, you choose football or me." At that time, I remember I was saying, "Man, she won't be my girl. If that's what she's saying, then she's not my girl. Forget about it. Forget about it." And it seems harsh, but if she truly loved me and cared about me, that's not even a question she would entertain, right? But because I was aware of that, I was able to attract the person that respects what's truly in your heart, you know? And same thing, the plan after that, when I graduated from college in the US and things were going well there, my plan was never even to go back to Canada. What we were discussing is that she would come in and meet me there and we would do our thing there. But then she had dreams in her heart also. Okay, she had dreams in her heart, and she made no compromises on these dreams. As I didn't make any on mine, and then we created this thing where, okay, I'll try to be the best version of myself, and I know you're helping me do that. And as you're trying to be the best version of yourself, I'll help you do that. Okay, mostly important. So just this fundamental truth that was there from the beginning, I already know that like for, for this to work, we have to speak truth. Okay, as simple as that. So it starts with this: be truthful to yourself. And then with this analogy of the car, as you said, Charlie, again, I love that because, man, are we, our hearts, our ideal life, our dreams, they need fuel. They really do. And are we giving it the right food? Are we truly sustaining them, or are they on life support? Are they on life support ultimately? You know, I drive a Kia Sorento. I love that car. Okay, I love that Kia Sorento. It's a hybrid. But every time I drive it, I see on one end there's the fuel gauge, on the other end there's like the battery gauge. Okay, but think of it this way: if we talked about the body, let's if that was one part, you have your mind. That's another part. You have your soul. That's another part. Is any of them on life support? Okay, do they have the right fuel? If all of them ultimately does, then we're operating at an optimal level for sure. And not only we're operating at an optimal level, we have happiness. And isn't that the goal ultimately? Whatever we're doing, isn't let's make the goal happiness. Let's make the goal happiness, and everything we talk about week after week, Charlie, for week after week, and I have so many notes. I could write a book, with the notes I've taken. Hey, what's up, big guy? Over the past few years, but personal mastery, in my opinion, what it comes down to is truth. It's simply truth, you know, truth. So happiness brings truth. Communication brings truth. It's it seems complicated, but it's really simple. But what's really difficult is committing to doing the simple things, committing to doing the simple things consistently for as long as it takes, for a lifetime. Really, that's what personal mastery is. I don't have to be perfect every single day. I can never be perfect. But can I do what's required for me every single day and simply commit to that and sleep well at night without comparing myself, without thinking I need to add anything else? I don't. I'm already equipped with everything I need, and as do anybody else that's listening to this conversation. You already have everything you need within. Now, are you fueling those things, and ultimately, are you using them? Are you putting them on the table? Are you refining them and doing something with them? Or are they just getting dusted up, in the old garage and been there for years, where you have this amazing Ferrari in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, that's just collecting dust and that's yearning to come out. But you have to rekindle with this thing, and the only thing, the way it happens, is with truth. Okay, with truth. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Well, you sparked a memory when you were speaking about truth, and I found this quote. It's this wisdom from Horace Mann, Mann, and he says, "Seek not greatness, but seek truth, and you will find both." that, that was huge. There's the champ walking past. That really hit home with me. And the more I ponder it, the more, hey, buddy, good to see you. The more I ponder it, the more truth that's in there. That there's greatness in truth, right? And it's interesting. You talked about happiness, Ray, and it was Bob Marley that said happiness is found in strength, right? And so, because when you're strong, you're able to deal with so many things, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotional stressors, because you have the strength to do so. And you're strong enough to not let it invade on your happiness, right? And that's a truth. However, there's only one way to get strong, and that's to build strength, right? And how do we build emotional strength? How do we build physical strength? How do we build uh, spiritual strength? It's through practice, dedication, and not dedication to, as you mentioned at the outset, meaningless work, but dedication to meaningful work, meaningful activities. In other words, activities that are full of meaning, right? So that's the amazing thing. Here's the other thing I want to mention about communication, specifically with ourselves, specifically with our bodies. Your body will let you know what it likes, what feels good to it. So when you go on a 3 mile walk and you feel invigorated at the end of it, you're like, man, I can't believe this. I walked 3 miles and I feel great. My blood's flowing. I just feel so alert. Your body is telling you, hey, keep doing that. That's good for us. That's good for me, right? Or you go in and you know this, Ray. The days that you go in the gym, there's days that I force myself to go in the gym. Got a bad attitude, man. I'm just, I don't feel like doing this. I got to do it. And those are the days, without question, those are always the days that I hit personal bests. It's crazy. You get rewarded for pushing through. You get rewarded. Your body rewards you for it. And so I've had my best workouts. I've hit personal bests in lifts on days that I did not feel like going to the gym, and had to um, really force myself into that situation. So you can see that the sun has come up in the Midwest. It has hit my face through the window right now.
Like glowing skin, Charlie,
Yeah,
glowing
yeah,
skin.
it's like right in my face. It rises in the east and it sets in the west. I have an
I
east.
need to get on your skin care routine,
I'm
Charlie.
just illuminating, but it's so interesting that how it came up during this time talking about something that's so very important. You go outside and the sun feels good on your skin. Your body's telling you, I like this. And hey, getting sun on our skin, right, is a good thing. Not overdoing it, obviously, but it's amazing how just sun exposure, our body manufactures vitamin D, right? Manufactures it. And so you got to go out and get some of that good vitamin D. But it's also important. And again, the things we've talked about today, you don't need a special degree, you don't need special training. We've talked about fundamentals, right? We've talked about fundamental truths that will serve you for the rest of your life if you
Mm,
choose to practice them. So with
yeah,
that, I'll pass the mic.
yeah, it's fundamental truths, 100%. And the timing was perfect, Charlie, as you were talking about strength. Just the sun, the sun shines and puts a spotlight on you. I love that. And it, I think, man, it's so cool when we're having these conversations because they just lead to the next principle and the next principle and the next principle as we dive into it. And we first talked about elimination. Then from there, we talked about something else. Then from there, communication. From there, strength, strength. So, man, let's just continue to look within ourselves and undergo this same process of just, hey, look behind the veil, look behind the veil and then sit in there. Try to understand what comes. Push over the next curtain. There are so many layers, and I believe they're meant to be experienced and understood one at a time to see how they're all interconnected. And we're both former football guys, but the very important thing is that understand that you never arrive. And that's another thing that we tend to, okay, I've done a lot of busy work. I've done a lot of busy work, so I've arrived. No, you got to start over. You got to start over tomorrow. And if your busy work hasn't pushed you forward, then you haven't moved much, right? You haven't moved much. So in football, we have off season, preseason, in season, postseason. And these cycles, they repeat. They repeat and they need to be repeated for a reason so that you continually evolve. In business, a good example is that if I have a slow season in the summer and it's my first year in business, I collect this data. Okay. And whatever I learn from this moment, well, I make sure that it's documented. I make sure that whatever I did to, counter it, well, I have a process. And you know what? When I come to that moment next year, I can be better prepared for it. Okay, because that moment will most likely come again. If I have a lot of success right now, but I haven't necessarily been doing much, okay, let me not fall into the trap of thinking it's because I'm that good. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's just the times. And just like anything else, things evolve. So by doing exactly the same thing, maybe next year it's not working at all. So are you truly committed to the process of creating and game planning your life and your success and your happiness ultimately? Okay, your happiness, it takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of commitment, it takes a lot of strategy. And most often, you look at the greatest coaches, greatest teams, again in football, the Philadelphia Eagles who won this year. I love it when teams like that win, Charlie. And for one specific reason is that football evolves every single year, and it always gets very sophisticated and cute, as I say, and that's cool, The eye flying, sophisticated, that's really fun. But when it's all said and done, if I'm more physical than you, and I go north south and I hit you in the face for 60 minutes, you will quit. Patrick Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. I don't take anything away from him, but he was running for his life, and seeing ghosts. Again, because these guys, man, they just came at him and they bullied people all day, and that's how you win in football. Really, be as sophisticated as you want. If I, from day one of training camp, I can instill these principles into my team, and we're gonna be physical, we're gonna be relentless, we're gonna go through the whistle, we're never gonna stop. You can beat a more talented team than you. And it's been shown over and over again. So this principle holds true in football, and that's the perfect example. So what's your recipe for winning in your life? Okay. If you don't have it done packed, that's cool. It's a process and it's a long process, but it's a fun process to be into because you're developing that recipe. And I heard something else, a great quote again from the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday. I thought that was so awesome because he was talking to one of his friends. I don't know exactly about what, but they were saying how it's good to have mentors, but the thing about mentors sometimes is that you get access to their knowledge and wisdom for things that they have overcome, things that you have not overcome yet. Okay. And they kind of walk you through because of their story and their experience. But the problem with that is that it's very rare that someone overcomes something and while they're doing that, create the clear blueprints for someone else to do it too. They can give you hints here and there, but you don't necessarily have the blueprint. So, what if we became that intentional in whatever situation we're going through, difficult or not difficult? We take time to actually stop and document and create that recipe and create that true blueprint so that when it's time, okay, when it's time for us to have access to that information, boom, here's the book. That's why writing books is so great. That's why you have a lot of them, Charlie, and I have a lot of them myself because when I get to tap in, especially the great books, you realize that they aren't just books, they're blueprints. Okay, they're truly blueprints to follow, and that's awesome. You saw my son every single day. It's questions I need to ask myself, but what if I could leave them a blueprint? You know? What if I could give them a blueprint for whatever before they're into a situation with their own thoughts and experiences and creativity, they'll probably take what I left for them and take it to another level. But at least a foundation, it's a base, right? So it not only serves you, it serves the world. The information that we give right now and the things that we talk about, it's in one way it serves us. Me, I love having these conversations because it serves me, but I love having them because giving is even better than receiving. And if I can give anything to somebody else, it energizes me in a way that I believe when you get to teach, you have no other choice but to truly um, study the subjects that you're talking about. Okay. And as you study them, you get to learn more of them. Um, there's a bunch of books in my library that I'm pretty sure if I read again, I will find new things uh, in there. So, man, that's why it's awesome, Charlie, and that's why you never arrive. If we just have this understanding in our minds that okay, it's a process, and it's awesome that I simply get to walk that walk just by walking that walk gives me so much. So forget about trying to be busy and simply like showing something that's empty. Man, let's be productive. Let's truly focus, be all in into this process. And that's really the goal. That builds strength, that builds truth, it builds everything. And then you become that being, that human being that maybe you were truly supposed to be, and isn't that the goal in the end? Isn't that the goal? With that, I'll pass the mic. I could go on and go on, but I'll pass the mic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's such a fascinating subject. And like you say, there's so many layers to it and levels to it. But I think there's been some great pieces in the meal served today, some great entrees, some great side dishes. So plenty for all to gain nourishment from. You mentioned football and the Super Bowl, and of course, I live in Kansas City, so that was the worst Super Bowl I've witnessed, right?
Yeah.
However, from a football player's standpoint, the Eagles did exactly what you just spoke about, Ray, was, they were the more physical team, right? And I think it was Mark Schlereth that said this some years ago, but he was talking about, and he was an offensive lineman, played in the NFL for many years. And he said, there's something about moving another man against his will.
Yes.
Okay? Against his will. It breaks them.
Mhm.
It breaks them because they know, you know what, I can't stop you. And once they're broken, the game's over, right?
Yeah.
Saw that, you know. So think about this. In life, when we want to make progress, we want to make truly meaningful progress in our professional life, in our personal life, we need to move ourselves against our will
Mm.
sometimes,
Yeah.
because that person inside of us is trying to stay comfortable, and we need to be able to move ourselves against our will. However, when we move ourselves against our will, just like that football player breaks the other one, we'll break the resistance within ourselves. But we have to be able to move ourselves against our will. When we don't feel like doing it, we're not sure we can do it. And then we'll find out we can, and we do. And there's something that Ronda Rousey said years ago too, and famous mixed martial artist, and she's a trailblazer in women's martial arts. I think every woman that's practicing today owes her a debt of gratitude, regardless of how her career didn't end on a high note. But without question, she's one of the greatest martial artists to ever walk the planet. Okay. And she got there through dedication, the things we're talking about. And this really stuck with me, what she said years ago. She said, I train so that on my worst day, because we all have bad days. She says, I train so on my worst day, I'm still the best in the world. Right. And it was true, until toward the end. But what got her, what the reason why she was overcome at the end of her career, it wasn't because of her lack of greatness. It was because all the distractions, right, that come along with fame, the movies, the books, the talk shows, all the stuff that she had promoting that game. It really prevented her. And the women that were coming up in the ranks, all of them were training to beat her. And they didn't have the movies, they didn't have the books, they didn't have the distractions. They could focus on that singular goal of defeating Ronda Rousey, and they did, right? Eventually. But not before she blazed the trail, not before the things she accomplished will never be repeated again. They can be
Yeah.
done again for the first time. They can be emulated, simulated, but nobody will repeat her path because she blazed a trail because there was not one.
She did. Yeah.
Right. So I'm grateful for that and be able to see her make that progress and overcome the things she had to overcome in order to do that, because it was a very rocky road. However, that quote, I train so on my worst day, I'm the best in the world. So if I have an off day, nobody can beat me. Right. And that's what drove her. And again, it's the dedication to the right things over and over again
Mm.
resulted in her greatness. And we all have it within us, as you mentioned, Ray. We have everything we need, but sometimes we look out external. I'm not the prettiest. I'm not the tallest. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the strongest. And you'll appreciate this, Ray. This NFL player was talking about Walter Payton, and that was kind of his hero growing up. And he was a great running back. And when he retired, he had the record for the most yards and first ballot Hall of Famer and all this. And this guy, Merle Hodge, was talking about him. He said, I watched Walter Payton. And, when I was a kid, I would think to myself, man, I'm not the fastest. Man, I'm not the strongest. How can I win? Right. But he's like, Walter Payton wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the quickest. He wasn't the smartest. He was just the best. Right? He was just the best.
Yeah.
And so we all have that. But we have to have that communication within ourselves to find, what gifts are we endowed with that no one else has? Right? What instincts do we have that no one else has? We need to discover them, develop them, and trust them.
Mm.
And then in our own unique way, we'll carve out our niche. Because again, every single person watching this podcast is unique. You're one in only 8 billion people, and over 8 billion people. You're the only one. You're the only you. Your unique talent, your unique point of view, your unique life experience. No one else has it. So are you going to open that up for public view? or are you going to let it die with you? That's the question.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Wow. Sweetness, Walter Payton, huh?
Sweetness. That's the nickname, right?
Sweetness, man. Special player for sure. And I remember going to school, my first experience in the US for sure. Before I ended up in Colorado, I was in Mississippi. So I I left Montreal to go down to Lorman, Mississippi, you know. So it was a big culture shock. For me, it's definitely football country, and everyone was talking about, you know, Walter Payton and Jerry Rice, and those two guys. What they have in common is exactly what you said. They weren't the most athletic, strongest, fastest, but arguably two of the greatest of all time. So there's something in the water, in there, down there for sure. Very, very resilient people. I'll say that. Okay. And as you were talking, Charlie, man, I was thinking about this. I'd love to share with you. I'd love your opinion. Okay. The more I listen to you talk, and the more I ponder on these concepts, it's like I get charged up. Okay. I get charged up. It's like a battery charger, right? Certain things in life can be battery drainers. This is not one of them. This is why we show up on Sundays and do this consistently, because it charges the battery. Now, every human being, as you said, okay, all have unique gifts, is one in billions. Every human being can be magnetized, so I use it as the charged up, or demagnetized, okay, as to drain. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people walking around being drained, okay, being drained. And what is being charged up? I asked good old Google here, or being magnetized is attracting people, opportunities, attention, having a strong, compelling presence, creating an irresistible pull. Okay, irresistible pull. There's this concept, okay, that says that, you know how we tend to think that the more we do something and create ourselves, and the more we chase something, we get to experience it or create it. But this concept says the opposite. It says that when you're fully magnetized, you don't have to chase anything. You start pulling themselves towards you. These things are already coming to you. Is that when you're drained, you don't have the right wavelength. They cannot, they're blocked. They actually move far away. Well, as if you're fully magnetized, guess what? You don't have to chase anything anymore. They come to you, okay? They present themselves to you. That's what's awesome about this conversation, is that it's really about being charged up, charging yourself up. You know, just that, like your Ford Taurus that needs premium gas, man, it's magnetized, it's ready to go. What can we do to fully be magnetized? Okay, to, as we know, and you said another very interesting thing, Charlie, is that it's almost as if we have different individuals within us. Okay, we have a charged up version of ourselves, and we have a demagnetized version of ourselves. Which one are we feeding? Okay, which one are we feeding? The subconscious mind, as we know, doesn't operate like your conscious mind. It doesn't see the difference, where if you introduce an idea to it, it will run with it, positive or negative. That's so important, because someone who's charged up, I believe,
And same thing, we go back to football, we go back to Walter Payton, Jerry Rice. If I'm not the strongest, fastest, more athletic, and I let that seep into my mind thinking I can never be the greatest because of that, will I be the greatest? Impossible. Guys like Walter Payton, they operated with complete confidence and faith and belief in themselves. And they presented that to their subconscious mind for sure. You know, and that subconscious mind is at work 24/7, even while you're asleep. It's working, it's pulling these things towards you. And now consciously, they were doing things to support that belief, to support that. So that's really the mechanism in the end. You know, those two things in our mind, and especially our subconscious mind, when it starts being fearful, when it starts being doubtful, what do we do to change the tide? What can we do to tell that man in the basement that Alvin always says, hey, go back in the basement. You know, go back in the basement. You're not welcome here. I see what you're trying to do. Go back in the basement right now. You know,
Yeah.
so that you don't let it linger on because it becomes real. Okay, it becomes real. So we always have these two individuals within. Now the cool part is that we get to be in control. But man, let's feed our subconscious mind so that we can be charged up. And let's make sure that our conscious activities line up with what we're trying to manifest in the end so that it continues to validate what it believes to be true or not. And while working out, you talked about strength. Man, if I'm sick for 2 weeks, like I was a few weeks back, I feel weaker, right? I feel weaker. And that can seep into my subconscious mind that, like, oh man. But if I'm working out, and man, I feel strong. You know, I walk in the street, my legs are sore, but they're sore because they've done something. Okay? Naturally, what will my subconscious mind believe? Is that I'm strong, which is the truth, right? Because you can easily start telling yourself lies. That's awesome, man. I've taken away so much from this conversation, but if there's one thing, it's exactly that: is that okay? A charged up individual can do anything. Absolutely nothing can stop a charged up individual, and that's fact. That's fact. But when you're not charged up, you will believe you're so much lesser than you truly are.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Well, this has been a fantastic session today, and really appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to these wisdoms. And you know, I always grow every time we get together,
Same here.
and it's such a fantastic way to start the week, and it sets the tone. It really does. It's a tone setter for the entire week. So I'm excited to see what happens throughout your week, Ray, and things you'll have to report back
Yeah,
this time next week. So what's your word for this week?
man, it's a tough one, huh? I'll say charge up.
Yeah.
Charge up. You know, it's 2 words this week, but yeah, man, it's awesome to be reminded of that today. Roman, if you decide to be magnetized, mind, body, and soul, there's nothing you can't do. Okay, even if you lose, you're gonna win. You know, you're gonna win. It's not even a if. It's just about a when, right? And also, lastly, just the concept of when you're being magnetized, you're pulling goodness to you. You're pulling happiness to you. You don't have to chase anymore. So I'll focus on that, being charged up and magnetized.
My word's going to be decide.
Mm.
Make a decision to implement the things we talked about today. Decide. And I looked it up, and decide is to come to a resolution in the mind as a result of consideration. So
Yeah.
consider everything you've heard today and then decide to take action. Here's another definition. Make a choice from a number of alternatives. What's the alternative from being your best? Can you live with that? I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
And so every day is that pursuit of perfection. And so I'm going to end with this. Yeah, it's a Vince Lombardi quote. And he said that we're going to relentlessly pursue perfection. So this is when he took over the Green Bay Packers. I want to say it was 1958, 1959. Took over a very poor performing team. They were 1-10-1, won a game, lost 10, tied one the year before he got there. 3 years later, they were NFL champions. Okay. And in his first speech to that team, he said that we're going to relentlessly pursue perfection, understanding full well that that's impossible, right? Because nothing is perfect. But we're going to relentlessly pursue perfection because in doing that, we'll catch excellence. Okay.
Wow.
And then he said, I am not remotely interested in just being good. Okay. We got to live our lives that way, right? We have to live our lives that way. And one of my principles that I live by, because I'm a perfectionist, and so that can be detrimental. So in my principles, I say to myself, I will relentlessly pursue perfection and I will accept excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing less.
Dropping
There
the
we go. Mic drop.
Nothing
Yeah.
else to say. That's a drop the
That's
mic.
it. That's it. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And when you know
Wow.
and then when you know, and this is the last nugget, when you know you've achieved excellence in a practice, in an event, don't let anyone don't let anyone tell you differently, right?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we'll have people out there that will be envious
Yep.
or they'll be envious of your excellence. So don't let them talk you out of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ray, thank you for your time and your
Thank you.
contributions today. This has been fantastic.
It truly was. As it always is, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
brother, I love you, and I want you
Thank
to
you.
have a fantastic week, man. You know, hug your family extra tight there, and just be present, man. Just be
Yeah.
present. Fully present in your family time and fully present in your work time. All
We'll do. We'll do for sure. For sure. I love
right,
you too.
brother.
Hey, peace,
Peace.
love, and soul.